Back to BCMN Bracketology. Today we're going to be giving you our final bracket predictions for this year. We're super excited. We have been thinking about this bracket nonstop. Our picks are ever changing still. Comment down below your favorite upset teams and what teams you think are going to make a Cinderella story this year in March. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider dropping a sub down below. It helps us. It's free, and we really want to help you win your March Madness League. So let's hop into this video. First off, we got the Zags. They're winning this game.
Next, we got Boise State versus Memphis. Both teams are very good. I think this is my favorite 8 to 9 matchup based on talent. Both have played great talent. Boise State won their conference. Memphis got second, runner-up to Houston. I think Memphis is going to win this game just because they've played better competition and beaten better teams.
Next, we got UConn versus New Mexico State. UConn, a very balanced team. They're one of the solid teams that have a top 25 offense and a top 35 defense in college basketball. New Mexico State, they haven't really played that competition, and I don't think they've really proven themselves even in the WAC. They kind of lost to SF Austin and Chicago State recently, so I think UConn will be able to outlast them.
Yeah. Next, we got Arkansas versus Vermont. Arkansas has proved time and time again that they can win games. Besides this Texas A&M recently, Texas A&M was on fire. Don't worry about that game. They beat LSU in the tournament, barely lost to Tennessee, lost to LSU again, and then beat LSU again, beat Kentucky, beat Tennessee. They look really good. They're hungry. They know how to win the tournament. They did it last year, and they're going to do it again this year.
Next, we got Alabama versus Rutgers or Notre Dame. Alabama, one of those teams, kind of struggles against the weaker teams. They've been kind of weak lately, and that's not what you want to see towards the last run towards March Madness. They've lost their past 3 games. I do think Rutgers will win this game, and they've been a solid team in the Big Ten all year. They've been really good at knocking off those Big Tens and those Big Ten solid teams and pulling off some of these upsets. And I think they're going to be able to pull off this upset against Alabama.
Yeah. And now next we got Texas Tech versus Montana. Texas Tech is ranked the best defense in the nation, I believe. Just for defense wins championships. It's been proven time and time again in the past year. Not to mention that they have an incredible offense. We'll talk about them more later, but they're going to beat Montana State.
So next we got Michigan State versus Davidson. Michigan State, very solid team, kind of made a little run in the Big Ten. They were able to knock off Wisconsin. Davidson just lost to Richmond in the finals of their conference tournament, but Davidson's got some sharp shooters. They got Hyun Jung Lee and their guard who used to actually go to Michigan State. Michigan State, though, I think is better coached in this, and they're not going to lose this early.
Yeah. Next, we got Duke versus C.S. Fullerton. C.S. Fullerton, what an upset story. Beating Long Beach State. Very proud that you guys are a 15 seed. Coach K's last year, Duke's going to win by 40. Doesn't matter.
Next, we got Baylor versus Norfolk State. Let's take Baylor here.
Next, we got North Carolina Marquette. In my opinion, I think Marquette is one of the most overrated teams. They've had a great beginning, but have just recently been very bad. Lost to Creighton, lost to DePaul, and that's just in March. North Carolina, on the other hand, have been very solid, have amazing pieces. I think they are very underrated. I think they got underseeded. It should be a 6 seed. They are ranked. They just beat Duke away, Virginia at home. Yes, they lost to Virginia Tech. We'll talk about them later. North Carolina.
Next, we got St. Mary's, Indiana, or Wyoming. I do think Indiana's going to win this game. They had a great run in the Big Ten. They should be, honestly, it's ridiculous that Michigan is not a play-in game, and they are after Indiana just beat them, but that's besides the point. St. Mary's is a top 10 defense in the NCAA right now. It really sucks that Indiana has to play them. I think St. Mary's is kind of not appreciated enough, and I think they're going to pull off this win. But Indiana, I'm sorry, if you played a different team, I think you could have won.
Next, we got UCLA versus Akron. Akron, home to LeBron. That means you got to be good at basketball. And they are. They made the tournament. Congratulations. UCLA has all of their pieces from last year returning. I can see UCLA going very deep, and with going deep, you got to start by winning the first round, and they're going to beat Akron.
Next, you got Texas versus Virginia Tech. As crazy as this seems, I don't think this is going to be a close game. I think this is Virginia Tech is much better than their seed tells them. They are arguably the hottest team in college basketball right now, just plowing through the ACC. They didn't, besides the first round against Clemson, they didn't even win with close games. They plowed right through it. This is the perfect team to make a Cinderella story, to make maybe even the Final Four if they're able to pull it off. And I think they're going to win this game by quite a bit against the struggling Texas.
Yeah, I agree. Just to add on a little bit, I feel bad for Texas. They have such good talent. They just can't play together. All right, next we got Purdue versus Yale. Yale in the Ivy League, they're just not very good teams. They're not playing great competition. They're not winning games. Purdue is amazing, great talent, and they're going to take care of business pretty easily.
Next, we got Murray State versus San Francisco. The issue with judging this game is you don't know which is a solid team, considering they haven't really played any out of conference competition. San Francisco's only played Davidson, who's the other who's a bracket team, but they're not that amazing. And Murray State hasn't really played anyone. They're 30-2 though, an incredible team. Their offense is just so efficient when you watch them, and I think their offense is just going to be too much for San Francisco to keep up with.
Yeah, next we got Kentucky versus St. Peter's. Kentucky.
All right, so now moving back up to the top left, Zags versus Memphis. I think Memphis is going to throw them off a little bit. Memphis is a scary good team. I think they've got a really solid defense and they have an incredible offense. They're shaky at times, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I still have the Zags winning here, but I wouldn't be surprised if you're in a league with a lot of people, maybe have the Zags out early.
Yeah. All right, next we got UConn versus Arkansas. This is an amazing game altogether. I can see either team winning. I just think based on wins, based on like effective wins, who they've beaten, based on the talent they've beaten, I think Arkansas is going to take this. UConn's good. They can't beat those high-level teams as much as Arkansas can, so I'm going to go Arkansas.
Next, you got Rutgers or Notre Dame or Texas Tech. I don't think this is a close matchup. I think Texas Tech is very good. They are the best defensive team in college basketball right now. I think that's what they're ranked right now, and they're just going to plow. I think they're going to have no trouble whatsoever.
Next, we got Michigan State versus Duke. A great 7-2 matchup. I can see either team winning. Coach K's last year, I think they overplay. I think they try way too hard. Michigan State has talent, has defense to control them, and pulls off the 7-2 upset, knocking out Coach K in his entire career.
So then we got Baylor, North Carolina. Do you want to cover this one? I know you're pretty passionate about this.
North Carolina is the most underrated team. Their talent is one of the most incredible talent I see. I think they're very, very underrated. Baylor, of course, they're the 1 seed. They also have amazing talents. They won last year. They're very similar players, except obviously they're missing their 2 best players from last year. But they're missing Jonathan Chamois Chachoa. I definitely didn't say that right. He is their big man. He's gone for a season. North Carolina's 2 out of 3 best players make it. Big man. Who's guarding him? Nobody. North Carolina, 8-1 upset.
Moving on, we got St. Mary's, UCLA. Love both these teams. UCLA, I think, it's disgraceful that they're a 4 seed in this bracket. I think they are a very solid team. They've proven out of conference that they can play very well, beating Villanova earlier in the year. They lost to the Zags, but they just did not look like themselves, and it was an away game. And they've been very solid in the Pac-12, knocking off Arizona. They weren't able to win the Pac-12 against Arizona, but they were able to win one against Arizona, proving they can beat these good teams. I think St. Mary's is a very solid defensive team, but I just think the UCLA's got that talent and tournament experience to win this game.
Next, Virginia Tech, Purdue. I'm actually going to tag this one back to you.
All right, so I hate having to make this decision. Purdue, for all you Purdue fans out there, they are so good. They are a great team. They have such good talent. Ide, Travion Williams, Jaden Ivey, incredible team. Big Ten tournament, though, you watch that game against Iowa, and they just weren't together. They weren't all on the same page. They tried to run it through Ivy, and then they weren't able to get everybody else involved to their full potential. And Virginia Tech exploits those weaknesses. They exploited that weakness against Duke. They kind of targeted Paolo Banchero and were able to stop him, or at least hold him to not stop him, but they were able to only have him perform, and then everyone else they kind of stopped. So Paolo Banchero was kind of useless, and they've just been hitting everything. They have been an incredible team. I think they're going to be able to just be a hot team and hit that three against Purdue and just win this game by a bit. I think Purdue could easily win the whole thing, but I got to say Virginia Tech here. I think that's our Cinderella team.
Next, we got Murray State versus Kentucky. Murray State just has not played that elite talent. I would not be surprised if Murray State comes out, becomes that Cinderella team, and beats Kentucky, but Kentucky just has so much talent. They have 5 scorers averaging over 10 points. They have this guy, Jacob Toppin, Obi Toppin's brother. I've been saying it for the last month. He is very underrated, going to come out and show the world what an NBA player's brother can do. Anyway, Kentucky has the talent, has the chemistry, has the coaching, and they're going to win.
All right, so moving on, we got the Zags versus Arkansas. Arkansas, kind of this dark horse team. They're a scrappy team. I think they're very solid and could make a run here. The Zags, I just think, have that. They are so good. They have all the size. They have the talent. They have Chet. They have Time. They're going to be a hard team to beat. Arkansas, I really am annoyed that they're in this region. It's kind of tough for them to make it out of here. They just lost to Texas A&M, which wasn't too bad of a loss considering how good Texas A&M's been playing. But Arkansas, they're not hot as they should be going into this tournament. While the Zags are just unbeatable as of right now, pretty much. So I'm going to put the Zags.
Next, we got Texas Tech, MSU. MSU, one of those dark horse 7 seeds, pulling off the Duke upset, having momentum. But momentum is stopped by amazing defenses. And we're going to say it the entire time. Texas Tech has the most incredible defense, number 1 in the nation. They're also a top 40, top 30 offense in the league. Michigan State does not have the greatest defense. That's one of the things they lack most. I think Texas Tech holds their ground and beats MSU.
So moving on, we got North Carolina versus UCLA. UCLA as a 4 seed. I'll say it again. It's disgraceful. North Carolina as an 8 seed. Also disgraceful. I do think North Carolina has just that even distribution of points coming in, but UCLA also does. And UCLA has that talent to guard them across the floor. They're a great two-way team. UCLA is just so balanced, and I think they're going to be able to pretty easily take over North Carolina.
Next, we got Virginia Tech, Kentucky. We got arguably the hottest team in the nation versus probably one of the most talented teams in the nation. It can go either way. It's very tough to take. Virginia's been dominating these good teams, dominating North Carolina, dominating Duke. But they almost lost to Clemson. So I think they cooled down. They got their Friday win. They got their Sunday win. And then they get a week off. They cool down. And Kentucky takes care of business.
So, moving on to make the Final Four, Zags versus Texas Tech. I have no clue if the combined score will be 180 points or if it'll be 100 points. Zags are ranked the number one offense in the in all of college basketball, and Texas Tech is ranked the number one defense in all of college basketball. Who knows what's going to happen? It's a battle of offense versus defense. I think the Zags will be too much for Texas Tech to handle, but honestly, who knows what's going to happen? I do think the Zags, though, have the size that Texas Tech is going to have issues just defending down low. Texas Tech likes forcing baseline, and I just don't think I think they're going to be able to. The Zags are going to be able to cut up the middle and be able to hit those big men who are cutting from the free throw line to the down low, and they're going to be able to score there. And I think they're a very efficient team like that, and they're a good team in transition. So I think they're going to be able to outlast Texas Tech.
Down to the East region. Who's going to make the Final Four? Is it going to be UCLA or Kentucky? I'm about to tell you. UCLA knows how to make the Final Four. They have the talents. They have all the players that they've had. Their top 4 players are guards, and that is a slight issue for me. Oscar Tshiebwe is so talented. I don't know if Riley can handle guarding him. They couldn't handle Kispert last year. He dominated. It's very tough. I think Kentucky is too big, and Kentucky makes the Final Four.
So now moving on to the top right region, Arizona right off the bat.
Next we go Seton Hall versus TCU. One of the most balanced 8-9 we've ever seen. And it is impossible to make a decision here. We're going to go with the team with the most heart. TCU has the most heart. Down by 20 to Texas, comes back, and wins by 5. Absolutely incredible. Great win. Seton Hall did not do amazing in their tournaments. They almost lost to Georgetown, then lost to a good UConn. Very underwhelming. TCU lost to the eventual champions in Kansas. I think, based on the heart, TCU wins.
So next, we got UAB versus Houston. UAB honestly could be one of those 12-5 upsets, except for the fact they're playing Houston. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with KenPom. It ranks the top teams based off of adjusted offense, adjusted defense, luck. It factors in everything. And basically, they're saying Houston this year is ranked 4th. Now, do I agree with that? No, but I think they are considerably underrated considering they're in the American Athletic and people kind of just remove them just because they lost Grimes and don't have that score. They're such a balanced team and they are gritty. They are not afraid to get that board. They are going to be a scary team to have to defend. I think they have that size and just that rebounding ability, and I think that'll push them past UAB.
Next, we got Illinois Chattanooga. My favorite team in the tournament. Also the most bipolar team in the tournaments. Illinois can either beat Arizona, kinda, or lose to Chattanooga. And it could go either way. I could see it. I just think Kofi Cockburn is too dominant, too big, and Chattanooga does not have that experience. Chattanooga's lost to teams like VMI and ETSU. They barely beat Furman. Great buzzer beater. Illinois wins.
So next, we got Colorado State versus Michigan. Colorado State, I wish this was a straightforward matchup. I wish Michigan didn't make the tournament. Michigan will get some ridiculous win. They always do. They somehow pull it off. They'll win the game. Juwan Howard won't have to punch a coach this time. It'll be fine. Colorado State, I'm not sold on the Mountain West Conference. I am sold on what's his name? David Roddy, though. He's such a talent, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, but I think Michigan will pull off this win, as sad as it makes me.
Next, we got Tennessee versus Longwood. Tennessee just knows how to win, and they're not going to lose to Longwood.
Next, we got Ohio State versus Loyola Chicago. Sister Jean, 102, turning 103. Loyola Chicago back in the tournament. I don't care that they don't have Krutwig. I don't care that they don't have their coach anymore. They have Sister Jean. That's all they need. They're winning this game.
Next, we got Villanova versus Delaware. Villanova, move on.
Next, we got Kansas. Moving on.
Creighton, San Diego State, both very good teams. I think 3 out of the 4 8-9 matchups are incredible this year. The committee did a very nice job with specifically 8 versus 9. Creighton, I think they have heart. Lost their best player to the season from a broken wrist, and then goes out and beats an amazing team as Providence by 30. They are absolutely incredible. San Diego State does not have those incredible wins like Creighton does, and Creighton wins.
Next, we got Iowa versus Richmond. Again, disgraceful that Iowa's a 5 seed. They just won the Big Ten. Keegan Murray's an absolute stud. Richmond, they've got Gilliard. They kind of sneaked into this tournament. Gilliard, he is a 5'9 player, an incredible defender. Right? He's one of the best guard defenders in the entire league. He's averaging over 3 steals a game. Shut out Davidson's talent with their guards. He just dominated them defensively. He could do the same for Keegan Murray. The only issue is for Richmond is Iowa doesn't only have one star. They have Jordan Bohannon, who's not going to let them lose with his 6th year in college basketball, and Iowa's going to win.
Next, we get the highly anticipated Providence versus the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. Providence had an amazing start, going unranked and then becoming, what were they, ranked 6 at one point, probably? And then recently barely beat Xavier in triple overtime. We've said it before, Xavier, very bad. This past March, lost to Villanova. That's a fine loss. Barely beat Butler. That's not great. Lost to Creighton by 30. South Dakota State has won 21 games in a row, while on the season shooting 45% from 3 and 76% from the free throw line. To get those upsets, you're going to shoot well, and South Dakota State can do it, and they're going to win.
Next, we got LSU versus Iowa State. We're both going to actually be at this game, and it's kind of sad because this is just not a good game whatsoever. Iowa State, both these teams actually started off the year very strong, knocking off those good teams. Recently, they have been just disgusting to watch. LSU, though, I think isn't a strong. I just like the SEC this year, and I think they're not. I think they have a better chance of putting up a fight against other teams, and I think they're going to be able to beat Iowa State even without their coach.
I'd just like to stress this enough. Iowa State is so bad. You're going to watch that game, and it's going to be bad. All right, sorry. Wisconsin-Colgate. Honestly, if you look at what happened last year with Colgate almost beating Arkansas, it could happen again. Personally, I'm not sold on Colgate. I think they are a worse team than they were last year. Wisconsin, they're not playing as great as they have been earlier in the year, but they still got the player of the year, Johnny Davis, with 7-year player, Brad Davison, not actually, but that team has a lot of talent. They know how to win, and they're not going to lose to a 14 seed.
So next, we got USC versus Miami. Not going to make the same mistake with having the Pac-12 out early this year. USC is such a talented team, and they're just big. They've got this size. They haven't really lost to bad teams this year. Miami hasn't as well, but they're just not great. And I'm not a big fan of the ACC this year. I think most teams in there are kind of overrated, except for maybe like North Carolina and Virginia Tech. Miami just is an average team, and I think USC won't have too much trouble.
Next, we got Auburn, Jacksonville State. If you put a team like Delaware there, I can honestly see the 15-2 win. Jacksonville State didn't even win their conference tournaments. Bellarmine, I think it is, won their tournament, but they were a D2 team a couple years ago, so they're not allowed in the tournament. That's why the 1 seed at Jacksonville State got in. Auburn's not losing to a team that didn't even win their conference.
So next we got Arizona versus TCU. TCU could have caused damage if they weren't playing Arizona next round. TCU, I like the Frogs. They are a very solid team. They can knock off the good teams. They knocked off Texas Tech. They knocked off Kansas. They knocked off Texas. Very good team in our Big 12 tournament. We had them beating Texas, and they did, except I just don't think they have the firepower and just speed to keep up with Arizona and Benedict Matherin.
Next, we got Houston versus Illinois. Two amazing teams. Very unfortunate for both of them that they have to play in the second round. Houston, one of the top defensive teams in the league, but they haven't played as much talent as you might think. The best teams they played is Memphis, good team, and they lost to Wisconsin earlier in the season. That's kind of the only great talent they've played. Maybe Wichita State here and there. But Houston has 6 scores over 10 points, so they have a good offense as well. I personally am not sold on them. I think Illinois, it's hard to stop Kofi Coburn. He's huge. Cabello's flashy. Plummer's a sharp 3-point shooter. I think this game goes down to the wire, but it comes down with a Trent Frazier dagger. You heard it here first. Trent Frazier dagger to beat Houston.
Next, we got Michigan, Tennessee. Tennessee, unbelievable. They should be a 2 seed. Ridiculous they're not. We're so high on them. We've been high on them. They are, besides Virginia Tech, and maybe even including Virginia Tech, they're the hottest team in basketball. Michigan should not be here. Tennessee by 40.
Next, we got Loyola Chicago versus Villanova. Loyola Chicago got a lucky 7 matchup. Ohio State playing very poorly right now. Loyola Chicago has the magic. They have the fire. But Villanova is so much more talented. They're shooting an insane 82% from the free throw line. Colin Gillespie came back for a reason, came back to win a ship, and they're going to beat Loyola Chicago.
So next we got Kansas versus Creighton. Creighton, very solid team, like we said. They don't have that talent, though, anymore, as their big guy just got hurt. Kansas, on the other hand, just so spaced out with their talent across the field, and I just don't think Creighton will be able to keep up with them.
Next, we got Iowa versus South Dakota State. Both technically the hottest teams in the country. Iowa playing out of their mind. South Dakota State has 21 straight wins. Absolutely incredible. Iowa just has that one player. Keegan Murray is playing absolutely insane, averaging 24 points in college basketball. They are actually amazing. It's really tough. I really want to put the 13th seed South Dakota State, but Iowa's playing at an elite level. So, Iowa.
Next, we got LSU versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin, very solid team. LSU, we said we weren't too hot on. I could see this game going either way. Wisconsin is a good team, but I don't think they're really that solid of a 3 seed. They kind of got some cracks in their team, not really ranked that high defensively or offensively. So I am going to say Wisconsin will win, but I think LSU will put up a fight.
USC, Auburn, both very good teams. I think the thing that gives them a slight edge, them as in USC, the slight edge is that they are ranked the tallest team in the nation. With tallness comes great defense, just naturally. Auburn does have that player, though. Jabari Smith. He is an incredible player, probably the best player in the entire league. But Auburn has just not been playing up to their standards. They won in overtime to Mississippi State. Very tough matchup. I'm going to put USC. Pac-12 does it again.
Moving on, we got Arizona, Illinois. I'm sorry. As a fellow Illinois fan, it's kind of tough that they have to play Arizona yet again and lose yet again. Arizona just has that talent. They have the speed. They have the play style. and I just don't think Illinois can keep up with them for a whole 40 minutes.
Next, we got Tennessee versus Villanova. Tennessee has proven time and time again that they can win. You might have doubted them. You thought they were going to lose to Kentucky. Then you thought Texas A&M would make the tournament after beating them. Tennessee said no. It is a disgrace that Tennessee is a 3 seed. They should have been a 2. They're incredible. Villanova, you're shooting great. You have a great defense, great coaching, but you don't have that win. Tennessee has that winning capability. Amazing offense, amazing team defense. Team beats Gillespie. Tennessee wins.
Next, we got Iowa versus Kansas. Iowa, such a hot team right now, shooting the ball at unbelievable percentages, unbelievable rates. They have the second best offense in the all of college basketball right now. That's what they're ranked. Second only to the Zags themselves. The Iowa's putting up so many points a game against incredible teams in the Big Ten. They scored 112 points against Northwestern. I understand that Northwestern is not a great team. 112 points is a ridiculous amount against anybody in the Big Ten. And it's not like this is the first time they've put up over 100 points or even 110 points in the Big Ten. They put up 110 against Maryland earlier this year, and they just keep putting up crazy amounts of points. And I just don't think that Kansas can keep up with them on a defensive level for 40 minutes again. And they both are great. Iowa, though, I think is ridiculous. They're a 5 seed, and they're going to make a crazy run in this tournament.
Next, we got Wisconsin versus USC. Both teams playing pretty well. I think they're both the third team in their conference. Wisconsin does have slightly better conference. I think it comes down to best player, and I know USC is a very tall team, a very well-coached team, but Wisconsin has this man. I don't know if you know this guy. His name's Johnny Davis. He's pretty good, averaging 20 and 8 a game with 1 steal a game. He's playing at an elite level. He got injured slightly, so he wasn't playing his best during the Big Ten tournament. He got that week's rest. He's feeling great. He has the fire, and he takes down USC.
Moving on to make the Final Four, we got Arizona, Tennessee. We've got a rematch on our hands. Arizona was at Tennessee earlier this year in December and lost. And it's really close because they only lost by 4, and it was an away game. But here's the thing. Tennessee's gotten better. Like, Tennessee beat them, and they've just become better since they've played them. They are on fire right now. They weren't even crazy hot back then as they are now. They had just come off a loss to Texas Tech and just really weren't playing as a team, and they still were able to win. And they have been ridiculously hot recently. They have beaten Auburn. They've beaten Arkansas. They've beaten Kentucky. They beat a very hot Texas A&M team and just completely shut their fire out. They just poured water all over their flame. I think they're going to do the same thing for Arizona once again. This SEC team, the entire SEC is incredible this year, and I just think Tennessee is not going to lose to Arizona.
To come out of the Midwest, we got Iowa versus Wisconsin. Battle of the Big Ten. I think Wisconsin has gotten very lucky so far. They had to play a 6 seed, then they had to play a 7 seed. I think they're getting very lucky. Iowa, on the other hand, has had to play really skilled teams, beating an on-fire Richmond, then an on-fire South Dakota State, and then Big 12 winner Kansas State. They come out and beat all those teams. They're beating Wisconsin. They played earlier in the season. Iowa lost by 9. But like you said earlier, Wisconsin got worse. Iowa got much, much better. They're playing elite basketball, and they're making the Final Four.
So now we've got the Zags versus Kentucky in our Final Four and Tennessee versus Iowa. Just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. We're so excited for March. Please consider subscribing if you've stayed this far. We really appreciate it. So let's go into this Final Four. We got Zags versus Kentucky. Kentucky have been able to plow their way through because of their size and talent. They've got Toshibwe, they got Ty Washington, they've got other size and talent. But the Zags are able to combat that. The Zags have Chet. They have Time to combat Toshibwe, and they have that guard talent. They have such a good defense. They have such a good offense. They're ranked the best offense and the seventh best defense. Kentucky, also a very good offensive team and a good defensive team, but just kind of like very similar molds. But I just think the Zags are a better team overall, and I think they're going to be able to outlast Kentucky.
Next, we got Tennessee versus Iowa. What is Iowa known for? 3-point shooting. Tennessee played Texas A&M their last game and beat them. Texas A&M shot a mere 20% from three. The game before that, Kentucky played. Kentucky's a very skilled team. Of course, they should be good at threes. They shot 10% from three. I think they lock Iowa down, surprisingly enough. They don't let them take that many shots. They're going to start shooting badly. Tennessee makes the finals.
So now we've got Tennessee versus the Zags in our finals. This is crazy. I think both teams are crazy hot. I think the Zags are just dominant. They are a very solid team. They are huge, and they have just got the talent with Chet and Time. And I just think last year they kind of lost, and I don't think they're going to allow themselves to lose again. But will Tennessee allow themselves to lose? They are on fire. Tennessee has just destroyed the entire SEC. They are a very hot team. They were able to get out of the top right region in our bracket, and those were some crazy games they had to play. They had to play against Villanova, arguably a title contender, against Arizona, a title contender for sure, against Iowa, a super hot team. They have just been able to beat every team along the way, but now are they able to beat the Zags? I don't think so. I think the Zags will just be a little too much to handle. Honestly, I could see this game going either way. If you're in a bracket with a lot of people, I would consider choosing Tennessee here just for the sheer fact that a lot of people are going to be choosing the Zags. But for our pick, for our purpose, we're just trying to say who we think will win, and that is the Zags here. So that's our picks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider dropping a sub down below.